Hello, my name is Gabby Richardson, and you are listening to The Nexus of Narratives, where we use stories to bring people together across belief systems. New episodes are released every Monday on your favorite podcast platform, where I have a conversation with a guest about an obstacle that they faced in their life that invited them to take a look at their own beliefs, whether about themselves or the world around them. We talk about how those beliefs were formed and how formative moments shape how we interact with the world. The Nexus of Narratives is what we will uncover through this story exploration. It's the common thread that unites all of us, no matter what our beliefs are. If you're an avid podcast listener, you know the deal. Please take a moment on the platform where you are listening to follow, rate, and review. Those little acts go a very long way in ensuring this important work reaches more people. In this episode, Marilyn and I discuss the beauty of living an authentic life and how powerful it is to step into being a light for others to shine. It's a lovely story of growth and overcoming, and I am delighted to share it with you. A fun moment is there's some background noise of a rooster making a vocal presence, so I hope that tickles you just as much as it did me. Now, without any further delay, please enjoy this conversation I had with Marilyn, and I look forward to seeing you again on your public podcast feed next Monday or connecting sooner on Patreon at The Nexus of Narratives. Hello and welcome to the Nexus of Narratives. I am Gabby and welcome Marilyn. I'm so grateful to share space with you today.
Aloha. Thanks, Gabby, for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
And I met you in a women's leadership course, and it was just so tremendous to share space with you. I think about just your generous and sweet and kind just presence like very often, almost daily. I have a little card, the card that you mailed me up on my desk, and it reminds me in a way to just like slow down and be more present and be more kind and gentle, just as your presence has been so impactful to me. So thank you for that. It's so incredible.
Welcome. I'm so glad that you have it still.
Yeah, of course. I'm also the person who there's like a balance of like when to get rid of cards, and I have cards from like the last 10 years probably. I like hoard cards, whether that be good, bad, I don't know, but they mean a lot to me, so thank you. And if you were to run into someone and meet them and you were to introduce yourself, how would you share a little bit about you?
Well, I love just sharing that I grew up on a farm here in Hawaii, on the east side of the island, and it's just beautiful here. And it's 6 acres, I get to just breathe in the fresh air and be with all the chickens and the cats and all the plants and nature. And I'm just really, really thankful. So just growing up with farmer parents, my grandparents actually started it back in the 60s. It's just, I feel that I get to be able to slow down a little bit and be able to appreciate the beauty of the nature and just be. My neighbors are so far away too, and then full circle now that I'm a grown adult. I got to move back into my grandfather's house where he started the farm, and so I moved back in, and I get to, just be, and it's just been so fun, and it really cultivated me to where I am now to, be more mindful. I actually really do hug trees. So I'm a little tree hugger because I have trees in the nursery that I love. And it's just really grounding. I get to ground more, and that was something that I had lost when I moved away. So I'm just really thankful to just be here. And then um, now I'm an entrepreneur, so I get to work from home, surrounded by just greenery and fresh air, and I'm just really thankful.
Mm, that's so incredible. Thank you. What a beautiful landscape to grow up in as well and then return back to. That's amazing. Ah, and, it's so incredible to be on such a beautiful island and just even sweeter that we were able to cross paths. As we were talking about, before, like developing different beliefs, whether they're about yourself or about the world around you, and facing different moments in life where you're invited to take a look at those beliefs and either choose to stick with them or change them. Uh, what is a story that comes to mind for you that you would like to share, and wherever you would like to start with it?
Yes. So before I started self development, investing in myself, and just, working on myself, I actually felt invisible. I was invisible, and I didn't want to share my story. I didn't think that my voice was important. And it was challenging because I was in a place, in a situation for 13 years to where I was verbally and mentally abused. And so I ended up believing that person, that I was worthless and wasn't able to be smart enough and things, whatever she said, I just believed her. And then when I was able to get out of that situation and start healing, like I just, really tell people like you are your best investment. And when we work on ourselves, when I started working on myself and investing in myself and pouring into myself, loving myself, all these things just started to happen for me. And it wasn't easy, right? It was like challenging. There was a lot of tears and a lot of journaling and reflection. However, it's like I kept putting one foot in front of the other. And then one of my goals was to get to WLS where I met you in April, and I was able to do that and then keep on reflecting and healing and moving forward. And then last week, I was able to share with you and celebrate with you that I was actually on stage for a BNI Global Convention, speaking in front of 1,600 plus people about being a light and doing what lights you up and the connections that we get to make. As humans, we love connecting with other people, especially our people, our tribe. And I'm just so thankful. It's all about light, love, and connections. And I really embrace that and embody that and encourage other people to keep sharing their story, because your story will be somebody else's survival guide. And I'm like so thankful. I always say, we are best equipped to help the people who we once were. So, I'm helping former versions of myself as I grow into and blossom into, the woman that God made me to be.
Mm, that is so beautiful. There's so many pieces there that stood out so strongly to me. Like, just what a beautiful transformation, first and foremost. And like, you are a light, you are such a light. And I love how you shared that someone sharing their story, it is powerful for other people. Like, we don't even know how powerful it is for others. So thank you for like laying that beautiful foundation for that. And so as you shared, you were in a situation where I picture like you being put down, the authentic you, and just this beautiful radiant light that you are. It was like so deeply dimmed. And could you share like a moment or an experience where you started to question that or started to see differently, and kind of track through some of that transformation?
Yeah, so something that happened was solutions just started coming up, when we have that intention and things just start working. So, gosh, I want to say back in maybe 2000 or end of 1999, I started saying by December 2021, I'm moving out. By December 2021, I'm moving out. And I would just say that over and over and pray about it and go walking and meditate. And then literally in October, this house opened up for me, and I was like so afraid. And I thought, I am not able to do this. And I was able to get support and help. Like people just came out of the woodwork to help, my friends from church and my um, friends that I've met through self development. I'm just like so thankful that they all came to help me move. My parents, it's just like, oh my gosh, like there's no way we can do it by ourselves. And that's what I think when we find our community, when we find our people and make those connections, we are able to do so much more. And this is why I love that you have your podcast, because you're able to make connections and share other people's stories to be able to be like, okay, well, this is what's possible. And, there's times when I felt that I just felt so hopeless and helpless. And I'm like, what do I do? And sometimes for me, I experienced the breakdown before the breakthrough, and I will even
Mm.
say when I spoke on stage last week, Wednesday, on Tuesday, I experienced my breakdown. And I was like, everything that could have gone wrong, including in the mic check, right, on the hotel room or the hotel ballroom before, like everything that could have went wrong. And I ended up just walking to my car and crying my eyes out. And then it was like, okay, that's done. I was able to feel my feelings and work through them and heal. And then on Wednesday, I just was able to be that light on stage.
Mm. That's so incredible. So you'd mentioned like a breakdown to a breakthrough, like maybe aside from like last week, what would be one of those breakdowns that then led to a breakthrough? And I'd love to know like what happened in your mind and in your body that supported transitioning to that breakthrough.
So something that really moved me was I felt so helpless and lost. I'm like, what do I do? Like my voice doesn't matter. I don't matter. Maybe people wouldn't miss me if I wasn't here. And so being able to take the next step into self development. And I was like, this is the last bit of money that I even have. And it wasn't even, it was like gifted to me. And I was like, I'm just going to take this last bit of money that I have and get to Texas to be able to do a 7 day, self development course. And that's experiential, that draws out what's already within me. And when I went there, that's when I was able to start speaking my truth and speaking my voice and realizing, oh my gosh, all these stories that I made up that I told myself from when I was small, that my voice doesn't matter, that I'm meant to just embrace even my masculine energy to just do the work, and that's how I'll be respected. All these things that I've told myself, I was like, oh no, that's actually not true. And that I was in charge of other people's feelings. So I was a rescuer, I was a people pleaser, right? All of those things. And it was like, no, that I have nothing to do with what other people are feeling. And when I was able to realize that and start understanding and being like, I am going to be responsible for my feelings and let other people be responsible for theirs, then that was like the little shift that started happening to where I was able to move forward and start peeling back that layer, all the layers of onion of things that wasn't true, that I didn't really believe in, and start to embrace my authentic true self. So when we speak our
Mm.
truth, it's so important. It's so freeing, I will say, because our bodies know when we're not speaking our truth. And when we don't speak our truth, our bodies just start to decay, I will say, or it just knows that I don't feel good when I don't speak the truth. So when I started
Mm.
speaking more of my truth and being who I really am, that's when I was able to really, move towards who I'm meant to be. And then the people who are meant to be in my life grow closer to me. And I'm able to find those people that are just aligned with me. It's been beautiful.
Mm. Ugh, that is so gorgeous. I I think about how prevalent the conversation of authenticity has been in so many of these conversations. And I see it coming back in so many ways. And what you just shared feels like an exact testament to the importance of authenticity as well. And you had shared how you had gone into this kind of transition space from feeling invisible, having, you'd said, like, you'd made up this story of who you were and how you were based on these different experiences that you had. So what do you feel like was that pivotal moment that maybe you had, if you had an aha moment, or when you started to question those beliefs that you had about yourself?
Could you say it in a different way? Or could you ask it in?
Absolutely can. I was even thinking as I was saying it, I was like, I don't know if the words I'm saying make sense right now. So when would you say you started to question those beliefs that you had about yourself?
I would say last March, when I took this 3-day seminar, and then in May when I went up to Texas for 7 days, I was like, who am I? Like, who am I really? And I have I was in a relationship to where I made sure that he felt comfortable, so I totally changed who I was as a person, and so he could feel comfortable, and then I wasn't my authentic self. Right. And so that was really eye opening for me. Like, okay, now I get to find out who I really am. Yeah. Who is Marilyn? And when somebody told me, like, nobody knows who you are, including yourself. And I had to take a really hard look at myself and be like, that's true. Okay. So let me dig deep, start journaling, feeling my feelings and reflecting so I can move into who I really am and find out what do I like, and what do I not like, things like that. And it may seem so simple. However, it's like sometimes well, for me, I'll speak from I wanted to make sure that the other person felt safe. So I put their comfortability before my own, right? And now it's like, okay, it's okay for me to share my truth. And it's sometimes I will just be able to listen, and I am loving what I'm learning. I'm loving who I get to become as I learn more about myself, and it's been, gosh, I want to say a year and a half, right? So it's been a year and a half of this really digging in deep and finding out who I really am.
Mm. Wow, that's so tremendous. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It sounds like you lived so long for the comfort of others. And what do you think led to feeling like you needed to live that way?
One of the things that I learned very early on is I have to be right. So if I'm right, then I avoid getting hurt. So I did everything in my power to make sure that I was always right and didn't make mistakes. And if I made mistakes, I was in big trouble, right? So I was in so much trouble as a child if I ever made mistakes. And I was like, dang, this is something that I'm learning as an adult. Like, okay, all those things that happened to me, for me as a child, they're not going to happen to me now as an adult. I get to give myself grace, give myself love if I make a mistake, and I won't be in big trouble the way that I was, back then, and I won't get hurt. So I'm just really thankful to be able to know that, okay, well, this is what happened, and that was my pattern, right? That was my pattern before, to where if I made a mistake, I was like just flinching um for the punishment. And now it's like, okay,
Mm.
if I make a mistake, or if I say the wrong thing, or whatever it may be. Last week when I was on stage, I looked at my notes twice because, I needed support, and we all lived. Everybody was okay, and it was perfect. And it was more important to me to share my story. And I had, the founder, the CEO, all these people from, there's BNIs in 77 countries. So I had people from all over the world who came and flew to Oahu come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing your story. And one woman was like, I want to speak on stage next year. And I was like, I love this. Yes, what's possible? Dream big, right? What do you want to do? You want to speak on stage? Make it happen.
Oh, that's so amazing. And I love how you said, I looked at my notes a couple of times and everyone lived.
Hmm.
What's so funny about that to me is just the overly dramatic way that it's like a perfect representation of what I kind of feel like my anxiety feels like. And I did have one person at one point ask me, is like, what is the actual worst thing that's going to happen? No one's going to die. And so when you said that is it sounds funny to think, oh, if there's a trip up in the presentation or you look at your notes, no one's gonna die. Like, is someone gonna die? No, no one's gonna die. There isn't this huge like the world is gonna come crashing down because you looked at your notes. Like, it's okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I love that. That's so funny. It's just so funny. It tickles me. So thank you. um what I find so powerful is like what I hear is self-discovery from like self-suppression to self-discovery is what I hear as you've been sharing. And like what was that experience like in your body? I would say like before you started to lean into your authentic self and then as you started to blossom and then like where you are now.
Yeah. So when I wasn't living in my authentic self, I couldn't be fully happy. I couldn't feel safe. I never felt safe, which is something that's so important to me right now. And then I didn't love myself unconditionally because I wasn't showing up as my true self, right? So as I am leaning into discovering more of myself, just and then I'm also reading this fantastic book. The author is Dr. Greg Bear, and he talks about real love versus imitation love. The title is Real Love. And so I realized that I looked for imitation love to fill my cup instead of giving myself real, authentic, unconditional love and starting with me. And so this has really opened my eyes so much to where if I can love myself fully, 100% unconditionally, then it doesn't matter. Like nobody can make me feel anything, right? And I'm in control of myself, my thoughts, my emotions, and it's been definitely a growing experience. And I've been reflecting so much, like looking towards myself within, like what do I need to work on? If I'm getting triggered, what within myself is being triggered? Maybe from a childhood trauma or whatever it may be. Something that happened in the past. Like I get to look at myself instead of pointing the finger outwards.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how do you think that I think that's such a beautiful way to look at it and kind of draw the parallels too is where would you say that I can't remember the term you used now, I apologize, but the not real love, the fake love.
Oh, imitation.
What did that imitation love,
Mhm.
what was that experience like for you versus this authentic like self-love that is now like blooming and pouring out?
Yeah, so with imitation love, it's like, it's only temporary, right? So if I'm looking towards somebody else to give to me to feel love, that's so temporary and I will never fill my cup. And that's actually being a taker to where when I look at myself within and I love myself unconditionally, like it's perfect. It's beautiful. Like everything just comes together and I don't need to rely on any outside sources or outside people or circumstances or whatever it may be. Like I get to live in joy and love and peace every day, which is something that I pray about every single day. Like I love living in joy, love, and peace.
Mhm. That's so lovely. And what does that feel like in your body? What is that experience like?
Like I get to be happy, I get to smile, I get to love on others, and it doesn't matter if they receive it or not. It's just like I get to just be. And it's been so fun, especially within our community, because I'm just like, givers gain, right? So how am I giving towards others without expecting anything in return? And when I was just having a conversation earlier before this, when I release expectations, when I don't put people on pedestals and remember that we're all human, um, I get to really love others with that authenticity and with the being that I am. And it's been
That
beautiful.
is so lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds free. Yeah, like when I hear that, kind of what the empath in me feels is like this openness, like a release, an open heart, like this generosity, this lightness is what I experience hearing you share that,
Yeah. And
which I think is really beautiful.
so many years I didn't understand that. I lived in scarcity, and I thought, well, if there's a piece of the pie and you got a bigger piece, that means I got a smaller piece. And I'm like, that's so not true. And so I lived in the defense, like, how can I always defend myself so I can, make sure that, you know, um, I look good in front of everybody, right? Especially on social media. When I got my first hater comment, I was like, devastated. And then I was like, wait a minute, they don't know me, because if they knew me and if they knew where my heart was coming from, they wouldn't have said those kind of things. So there, it's just like, okay, I'm able to be where I am. And then I'm definitely not perfect. So I get to uh, really navigate through this. And if anything comes up, I get to take classes, re-audit classes. And if anything comes up that even remotely triggers me, then I'm just like, okay, I write it down, and then I work on myself. I get to work on myself. And I will say, living in abundance, where we think of ourselves each as a candle, and when we light each other's candles, then we just light up the whole world. And that is so much. Oh gosh, I just love that feeling, rather than, okay, we all have a piece of the pie, and once it's done, then that's it. Like, who wants to live like that? I wasn't having fun living like this, like that. And then now I get to have so much fun and be in excitement. Like I say, everything is exciting now, no matter what I'm going through.
Don't go anywhere just yet. We'll be back with the rest of this conversation in just a moment. So I want to first thank you so much for spending your time here with me on the Nexus of Narratives. I know time is one of our most valuable resources, if not our most valuable resource. And so I'm grateful for you sharing your time with me and my guests on the Nexus of Narratives. Other ways to support that are deeply meaningful is I invite you to join our Patreon community. It's an incredible growing community of people who are seeking to create and cultivate belonging and connection and bring people together across different belief systems. So join us for tiers start at $1 a month, and that is for pre-release episodes, bonus content, additional conversations, live Q&As, live streams, and opportunities to join as a virtual audience to live recordings and ask questions to the person being interviewed and me while we're in this space together. Additionally, you can learn more about the podcast, find other ways to listen and other ways to support by going to www.nexusofnarratives.org. And also, last but not least, if you would like any coaching or consulting from me personally, I would love to support you as a person and your work in the community or in your businesses. So for ways to connect with me to support your personal, professional, or business growth, you can reach out to me on my website or visit my website, www.fathom, thenexusimpact.com, and links to those different sites, Patreon, Nexus of Narratives website, and the Nexus Impact website are in the show notes, linked below if you're on a device that scrolls. So thank you again for your time, and enjoy the rest of this incredible episode. Something else that you shared that I thought was just absolutely tremendous. I've loved using the metaphor of, whatever fill in the blank is not a pie where someone takes a slice and then now all of a sudden there's less overall to go around. And I love that reframing that you shared of we all have a light, and if we support igniting the other lights around us, what a brighter world we will have. I mean, how perfect. And I shared this in a reflection in a different episode, and I had gone back through my notebook recently from women's leadership. And one of the things that I had written was that part of my purpose in this life is to help ignite other people's lights so that they would shine brighter and carry that with them. And I had this little sketch of a really bright flame next to that, which I thought was really cool. So any kind of metaphors that tickle that, I absolutely love. So thank you for reminding me of that. So joyous.
Oh, yes, that's so wonderful. Look at this synergy, that's coming up for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's something so, I picture a butterfly or a phoenix or something of just being someone. Oh, and then there, yes. Oh, how perfect. And for anyone who's listening to audio right now, Marilyn just flashed her gorgeous butterfly ring. What a beautiful reminder. Oh, I mean, that's exactly how I picture you, of being in this suppression and hardening and then just erupting. No, I have this beautiful spirit to share that will be a part of the light that others can bring to, is just such an incredible thing. And I have never experienced someone receive so much love in kind words as you. Anyone that I have talked to say, oh, I'm going to chat with Marilyn, and if they know you, they're like, oh, she's just the best. She is the sweetest. I don't know if I have ever encountered another human that has received such high praise and such extensive praise as you have. And so I can't imagine, in the best way, I can't imagine experiencing an invisible version of you or a suppressed version of you. And I'm so grateful that you have erupted and opened up to who you authentically are, because what a gift that is.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Gabby. And I will say, part of my people pleasing, right, is making sure that other people felt safe and felt comfortable. So if I started to shine and other people felt uncomfortable with that, I was like, oh no, I need to dim my light so that they, feel comfortable. And I wanted everybody to like me. And I was just like, okay, the people that are meant to be around me, the people who are meant to just be in my circle, right? They'll embrace my true self. And I'm so thankful, we got to experience that at Women's Leadership. It was like, yes, I can be myself. And one of the exercises that we got to do, I got to hug everyone, and that was so beautiful. I'm like, I love hugs so much. It just fills my cup, and I get to have that human connection with others and hug them and just be a part of their healing and their transformation and their journey. And so I'm just really, really so thankful and grateful for, you know, that opportunity, and then getting to meet you and seeing your growth and seeing how you are, you were like, I'm going to do this podcast so that I can connect others, so that I can help share other people's stories. And I'm like, that is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And I resonate, and I think it's part of what I feel is so beautiful about what you're sharing, is because I do resonate so deeply with it. And it actually is even consistent with how I showed up in women's leadership to start. Was I was thinking, I'm really confident with my ability to be a leader. That's like my bread and butter. I do leadership coaching. Like I coach leaders and I coach coaches. And this is fun. I'm going to take a back seat. I'm going to, like for me in my head, not consciously, I'm going to dim my own light so that I can let everyone else have their own experience. And that didn't work. Like when I was getting feedback to say, oh, well, I don't know, you seem pretty unauthentic. I'm not really sure. Like, you're quiet. When I had several, like countless people tell me, yeah, I don't know, you're kind of quiet and that's not really working for you. I'm like, me? Quiet? Have you seen me? And I think it was after the fourth person who said quiet, reserved, and authentic, something like that. I was like, oh, okay, feedback's clear. This whole like dimming myself, thinking that'll give that space for other people to shine is not working. Thanks, message received. And then I think when I was like, okay, fine, I'll show up authentically. Here I am in my full self. It was like that worked way better. And I think it actually, like, there were other people that were like, oh yeah, I felt like I could step up now. And like it gave me permission to step up. And I was like, oh, okay, so I can fully be me. I can be all of me and take up space. And it doesn't suppress the space of others. It's actually demonstrating to others, hey, come on, here we are, we're up here, are you coming, let's go. And so I think I had even made up this story of what it meant if I took up too much space and if I showed up authentically. No, it doesn't mean that other people, there's not going to be, it doesn't mean that I took the entire pie.
Absolutely. And you are a gift. I mean, when I saw you just take the lead and, lead the women, I was just like, dang, Gabby's like a freaking rock star, It's just like, I love it. And then we became friends and we got to talk and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. We get to lift each other up, right? A rising tide lifts all ships. And that's what we're all about. Like, how can we lock arms, link arms, and just fill each other's cups, so we can all just elevate with each other. And it's just so beautiful to see as we do this.
Wow. You said that so quickly that I want to repeat it. Is a rising tide raises all ships.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What a beautiful metaphor. That is so, that I just want to sit with that for a moment. Like that is so tremendous. So thank you for that too. Oh,
You're
so
welcome.
beautiful. I think there are so many gifts in this already that I hope people take away as they've listened. And I want to invite you to answer the same questions that I ask everybody. Is how can your story create connection for people who can relate and have similar experiences?
Yeah, so me, I had my starting point. I've had, you know, many breakdowns to where I'm just like, okay, well, do I stay here or do I choose to keep moving, keep putting one step in front of the other? And it is so easy to not do anything, right? So it's just like, okay, I don't feel good not doing anything. And so what is something that I can just do to move the needle? And so, something that I'm finding as I'm discovering more about myself is I love to hike. I love to swim. I live on an island. There's beautiful hikes, there's beautiful beaches here. So I get to do that. And so if somebody is also thinking like, who am I? You know, for me, I'm just like, yeah, that's what I thought. I'm literally super short, so the shortest person um, in our women's leadership class for sure. And wherever I go, so it's like, I'm a little island girl in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on one, the smallest state. So who am I to make a difference? And we know that as we grow, as we put one step in front of the other, there's so many things that as we strengthen that muscle, as we strengthen who we're meant to be, we get to embrace that and then really shine our light on others. So your audience, I'm speaking to you, your audience, you have a light to shine. And when you are authentic and you share your, find safe people that you can share your experiences, what you're going through. Like, I wouldn't recommend sharing with everyone. However, you know who's safe. You can feel it within your being, within your gut. Like, who is a safe person you can share that with, that you can um, know that you're authentically, unconditionally loved, and then they're gonna love you through that challenge or that mistake you made or whatever it is that you called it. Um, and just be able to know that as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, like, you are a light too, and you get to make connections with your people, and your people are looking for you. So that's super important too. Like, your people
Mm-hmm.
are looking for you, just wondering, like, who are my people, like, who do I connect with? And that's a beautiful thing too, because
Yeah, it
you're
is.
giving hope to somebody else.
That is so beautiful. And I would love to just echo it. I'm like, again, for the people in the back, is that to find those people who you can be authentic with and know that they accept you for all of you. And I think like the authentic you is always the best you. And the authentic you is not always put together. It's not always articulate. It's not always tactful, but it is true and it's honest. And it's like the most beautiful way to be. And it can, especially like in my experience, having lived a good portion of my life not being my authentic self, that when I started to step into my authenticity, I did lose a lot of friends because then all of a sudden, well, who's Gabby? This isn't this isn't the person we signed up to be around. And it took me a really long time to come to terms with that and accept it as a gift of, yeah, there's a reason why those people who didn't accept me authentically for who I am are not, holding me close when I'm not this one specific version of me that I presented in order to preserve that friendship. Is like it was only this one piece of me that was presenting in order to keep people around, and it came from insecurity, as opposed to showing up fully and having people surrounded who were like, yeah, that's her. She's she's great. She's kind of all over, but like this is her. This is amazing. All of the phases and sides. It is beautiful to have that with people, and not everybody are those people, and that's okay. But it is beautiful to have those. So thank you for that. And also, you said being small doesn't mean that you're not like great and impactful and influential. And I also want to say, as evidence by is it their rooster in the background? I think that's so amazing. I was like, how perfect that you're like, yeah, I'm small, like this like small but mighty kind of message. And then you hear, "Burr, burr, 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 burr," and it's like, as evidence. I was like, that rooster doesn't need to be big to take up space, so you do not need to be big to take up space.
I love it. Yeah, and I will say, as I have been growing, and I find that, and maybe you can let me know as you have been growing, the people who are the most uncomfortable are the people that, are not doing the work themselves, or are not getting out of their comfort zone as well. And they're just comfortable with who you were instead of who you're meant to be.
Mm, yeah. I've been um, kind of like mentally and emotionally reconciling some friendships, um, where like I have a friend group who some have been like incredibly invested in growth and like on this journey with me, like at their own pace. but and like doing their own things. We're not all taking the same classes and doing the same programs. And I think that's beautiful. It's not one size fits all when it comes to growth.
Mhm.
And then there are some who are almost like we've discussed, those of us who have been on this growth journey have discussed, like, I worry they're more committed to their own misery than to who they say they want to be. And it's been really hard because there's still so much love
Mhm.
for those friends and those people. And as I've said, hey, you want to try this thing? Do you want to try this thing? Like when we get together, I would rather the space feel like this, not sulking in this. Is I have noticed more distance now growing with
Mhm.
those friends that I had, and they don't respond to my messages anymore when I reach out. And I know I pushed a bit hard at points to be like, hey, I've noticed these things that are going on, and I would love it if, let's go to do this class together. Let's do this work together because I would love to see you grow to be the best version of you, and I want to be there with you through that. And they're like, yeah, cool, not right now. And then like kind of stopped responding to me after that. Um, and maybe I pushed too hard and maybe they're not ready yet. And like I'm okay with that. And it is painful in a way. Like I've noticed myself like grieving those now lost friendships in a sense of like I don't want to be where I was in this suppressed and in this place that was in a lot of pain. I don't want to be there anymore. And there's a reason why I've grown past that and I've been really deliberate about it. And then also I'm like, in the same hand, it stinks to see friendships change. It's bittersweet to see
Yeah.
friendships change because then I've grown so much closer with those who have continued in that work. Um, and then I've noticed a distance with those who don't. And it's like I get othered. I've felt othered by those friends. They're like, oh, I'm great that you're doing that for you. It's great for you. I don't, not for me. And I'm like, that's
Mhm.
okay. But then, yeah, I do feel like they're putting me into like a different bucket of human. And that's just my
Well,
experience.
yeah, and I will say the conversations are different. So you are, having different conversations to where we're creating things, we're setting goals, and we're moving towards those goals instead of, you know, um, complaining,
Mm-hmm.
which is where I was for many decades. I would just complain and blame
Yeah.
everything else, right? And then,
Mm-hmm.
gosh, when I started looking within, I'm like, okay, well, I can take responsibility and start creating things that I love, then the conversations are different. And then you find different people who are creating other things too. And then there's collaboration, and that's just so beautiful. And, I will say with those friendships, like it could be just right now that, your guys have a different mm, conversations, and maybe in the future, as they
Mm-hmm.
see your growth, as they get inspired maybe by other people and what's going on in the world, like how there really is so much good in the world. I don't even watch the news because I know the news just pulls everything that is not aligned with where I want to head. So I don't know what's going on in the world, and I get to have positive conversations with people and see what they get to create.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that speaks to the bittersweet nature of growth
Mm,
and choice. Like we have choice in what
absolutely.
information we receive. We have choice in how we exist in our ecosystems. And I ride that balance of staying informed with current events versus not being consumed by them. That's a hard balance. It took me a year to figure that out. Or I'm like, how can I be present and like know what's going on so I'm not like completely uninformed, but then also it's not taking from me and my energy. Um,
Mhm.
and sometimes I'll listen to news stories and I was like, oh, okay, this 15 minutes I was going to spend just getting updated on current events. It's too much for today. I'm turning this off and maybe we'll come back another day and maybe we won't.
Mhm.
So, yeah, preserving that energy. Oh, it's so important. So, so important. But yeah, and then like maybe those friendships will come back around. So, even for someone who's
Mhm.
like on their growth journey and feeling that bittersweetness of grieving friendships who are, dissipating in a way or kind of in a distant point, but then they might come back around if it's right. And then knowing, if you know that you're sitting, or if I know I'm sitting in my authenticity, then whatever comes or doesn't or goes is meant to be,
Mhm.
is how I feel. So, well, thank you for that. Well, and so the second question that I like to ask everyone is for someone who can relate to any of the experiences that you shared, what might you say to a past version of yourself?
Like, really know that you matter. That is so, so important. Like, I matter, you matter. And so letting that little girl know that she can speak her voice, she can let her light shine, and she's gonna find her people. And, and the connections and the light and the love and, you know, it's just the community. I love community as well. And it's so important to find people, like-minded people who help you to be better, to help keep me accountable. I'm just so, so thankful. And I mean, I'm getting phone calls every day now, as you know, right? And I get to help keep other people accountable, and people get to help me keep me accountable. And it's just so fun, like, you know, creating what I have envisioned as some of my goals, and as I heal and move forward and peel back the layers of the onion that is, um, finding out who I really am.
Mm, that's so incredible. So beautiful. And for someone who is still thinking of people who might be able to relate to where you were, where you are, is what do you or what did you need most to feel connected to people around you?
A safe person to talk to and just believe in me. And I say, sometimes people need to borrow my belief in them to move forward. Sometimes I need to borrow other people's belief in me to move forward, and then we can do that because we see sometimes we are so critical on ourselves that we think, oh, we're not able to do it. And then when somebody sees who we really could be and sees that superhero within us, right? Then we get to really draw that out of ourselves. And I think that's so beautiful. Like, I get to borrow other people's beliefs in me sometimes when I'm just feeling like, who am I? Or what am I doing? And then it's like it all compounds to where I'm like, there's no way I would have ever spoke in front of anyone, let alone on a Zoom, on a podcast, on a stage, right? There's no way that I thought I could even be an author, and I became an author this past year. I'm just like, my mind is blown. I get to share my story in so many different ways, and it's been really, really beautiful. And so I really just encourage everyone to know that that light is within, and we can all draw it out from ourselves to be able to be connected to other humans, other people.
Mm, that's so beautiful. I love that. And just a tack on to that last question, because it feels what your answer felt so important is you had said a safe person to talk to. And what does that safety mean? Like what does that look like to be a safe person to talk to?
So a safe
for
person
you?
to talk to. Yeah, for me, a safe person to talk to is somebody that is just listening, being present. There's no judgment. I don't have to be good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just listening and being. And when I'm able to talk out loud and share what I'm thinking or what I'm experiencing or what I'm going through. And sometimes the solutions will just come up as I'm saying things, or maybe I just need to get it out, to where I'm like, this came up in my brain, like I just want to get it out, and you're a safe person for me to talk to. Like, that is, there's no, that person is not going to tell somebody else, their best friend, right, what I'm saying, kind of thing. And just that kind of friendship, or um, person that you just know you can always share something with and it stays with them, and there's no judgment. There's always just unconditional love, because I'm definitely not a perfect person. And so some of the things that come up in my head, I'm like, wow, okay, and let me check myself on that. Where is that actually coming from? Do I really believe it? Do I really believe that, especially if it's not a positive thing about myself? Do I really believe that? And let me just be able to share it with somebody safe, so that they can just listen and be.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for expanding on that.
Oh yeah.
And last but not least, how can your story create connection for someone who has different beliefs or different experiences from you?
Yeah, and I'm totally open to that. It's just like, I don't have to be right. And I'm just like, if people want to, just share, it's the only way we can learn is to have open conversations about what we believe. And so having those open conversations, like, what do you think? Do you think this? No, you don't? Okay, please share with me what you're thinking. Just be open. I think that's, lately we've just come into a cancel culture, where somebody, if somebody doesn't believe the same beliefs, like, we just cancel them. And I'm like, well, that's not really going to help your mindset to grow and be open. And just being open to different conversations, and knowing, we're all human beings. And so, like, I don't have to be right all the time. However, like, I want to come across in conversations, especially, like, knowing that other person is feeling better, when they leave our conversation, and knowing that they feel the love that I have, just being present and listening to them.
Mm, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for your openness and your kindness and just the light that I feel from you, even from many thousands of miles away. So thank you. And is there anything else that you would like to share before we close out our conversation?
Well, I'm just so thankful for you, Gabby. Like, I'm so thankful that I got to meet you and see your light, and see how you are making so many connections for other people. And I just remind everyone, like, as you have these life experiences that are preferred or unpreferred, right? Like, everybody is going through something. So it's so important to just be kind. And so that's where I really work on operating from, because I'm like, everybody's going through something. If somebody cuts me off in traffic, I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're going through, that they're in a rush, like, and I just start praying for them. If there's an ambulance that's coming along, or a fire truck, like, or the sirens, when I hear them, like, I automatically just get into prayer, and I'm like, just praying. And so just being kind, I think that it's so important. We just need that kindness as we're going through life, and that not only helps somebody else, it ripples out. So it's so cool, right? So your kindness will help somebody else to be kind to somebody else, and they'll just ripple out into a beautiful effect.
Yeah, I fully believe in that. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for
much.
everything. And have a wonderful rest of your day and a lovely
You too.
weekend. And until next time, I'm so grateful to have shared space with you, and thank you for your openness.
Thank you. Mahalo and aloha.
that is a wrap. What an amazing conversation. And thank you again for taking your time to listen and join us here on the Nexus of Narratives. I do hope this conversation was incredibly enriching for you and that it offered some insight, tools, and resources that you can carry to the rest of your day and other areas of your life to create enriching, connective experiences all around you. I want to offer a special thank you to my dear friend Rowan, who is my co-host in the opening and closing moments of each episode, but then also for carrying the conversations on Patreon with me. Like really tremendous episodes, and it's amazing to have another person to do that with. So thank you to Rowan. That's a huge time commitment that they share as well. And thank you to my sweet and talented husband, DJ, who works tirelessly to do the best that he can to make this audio on these episodes the best that it can be, and also for creating the music that is used in this podcast. So enjoy and have a wonderful rest of your week, and look forward to seeing you back for the next episode or just seeing you on Patreon soon.